How's everybody doing? It's late, huh? It's late. That was a heavy panel. 4 white dudes on stage is always a heavy moment for me anyways. I'm another white guy, so sorry. But I am what I am. Excited to be here and excited to share a couple of things with you. My resolution's a little bit jacked here, but I think just it will be better to, should I just do that, use a finger? Can I get the lights down? Dude in the back, can you hit the lights? Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, maybe not like darkness, but yeah, just that one. Yeah, turn it back. Oh, turn the other one back. Let's just go there, perfect. Okay, all right. So let me get a raise of hands. Which one of these two is the entrepreneur? Is it James Tillis on the left, if you think it's James Tillis, or if you think it's Iron Mike on the right? If you think it's Iron Mike Tyson, raise your hand. Okay, if you think it's James Tillis, raise your hand. Okay, it's about split. All right. Startup Grind is a really simple program. Our goal is to educate every entrepreneur in the world. We do it through 3 core values about giving more than you take, helping others before you help yourself, and making friends. We have hosted 3,000 events for about 150,000 people. We have 200 chapters. We've had 20 million minutes of our content watched. And just a little bit about me. I spent most of my childhood in Europe, which is sort of now Turkey. I currently live in, that's a Turkish joke, wasn't very good, I apologize about that. I'm married, I have 3 kids, I speak Maori, which doesn't matter because no one else does, and I really love sitting on the beach. This is what success looks like, what they think it looks like on the left, you've probably seen this. This is what it looks like on the right, this is what it actually is. I've interviewed probably about 100 or so of the top founders in Silicon Valley and then founders across the world. From Dov Moran in Israel, who invented the USB, to Mark Andreessen, to I'm talking with Mike Maples in a few days at Startup Grind, who was the first investor in Twitter and other companies. And this is the pattern that I see over and over again, is that it's just not perfect. This is my pattern. I worked at EA for a number of years and basically failed spectacularly every 6 months since then. That's been 7 years. It's felt like 70 years, but EA was cool. Anybody who's worked at a big company? I'm losing. Ozan, I'm losing him, man. I'm trying. I mean, my good stuff's coming. I don't want to use it all at the beginning and then have nothing to save at the end. I'm trying, you know? That's all I got, man. So let me just tell you one story at EA, and that was when I started to decide, like, I want to be an entrepreneur, and I saw the co-founder of YouTube, Stephen Chen. He's actually a really nice, very brilliant guy, and I saw him come up and give a presentation up at the front of the room, and he couldn't get PowerPoint working. Like, he literally could not work the PowerPoint slides. And I was like, as dumb as I am, I was like, if the co-founder of YouTube can't get PowerPoint working, okay? I can do PowerPoint. I could probably start YouTube. It's really smart, right? It's not smart, it's really dumb. This was why I decided to quit my job. It's really a really bad idea. This was one of the first things I worked on. We raised angel funding for it the day after the iPad came out. We started working on this game called Steve Young Football, starring a very famous athlete in the United States named Steve Young. Gizmodo called our advertising the best app ads they'd ever seen. It's a really stupid American joke. It's not funny. But guess what? Like, our game was awful. Like, no one liked the game. So our marketing was great. It really was great. But our game and product was terrible. And we lost all the money, and I had built this team, and then no one wanted to work with me anymore after that. Not me, but just in the company, like, no one wanted to do what we were doing anymore. And so, like, I just felt really sorry for myself for about 3 weeks. And then I read Steve Blank's book, 4 Steps to the Epiphany, and which talked about that you should get product market fit before you start spending money on marketing. It's a really revolutionary concept. So I decided I'll try again, but I'll do that next time. And so this is about that same time I started hosting these events in my office with a friend of mine. We called it Startup Grind because that's this hashtag I would use on Twitter to describe, working at 2 a.m. or like getting dogged on a meeting or somebody bailing on you, and it's just like, somebody bailed on me today. Startup Grind. And it's just like, this was it. It was nothing. 6 months later, like 4 people showed up. So literally the front row here. And I was like, what a huge freaking waste of time. Like this is gonna fail just like this other stuff's failing. But I got in my car and I literally I just sat there and I remember this, and you kind of remember these moments in your career and in life maybe. And I just sat there and I just like, what am I doing? Like, I need to be focused on my startup, and I'm wasting my time. Even though it's 1 day a month on Startup Grind, it's still a waste of time. And I just decided, for whatever reason, I don't know, like, I hope someday, like, I decided to keep going, obviously, but I hope someday, like, maybe in the next life, that like, this is my there's no basis for this other than my own wish, but I hope like I can go back and look at certain moments of my life, and this is one of those moments I hope I can go back and look, because I should have quit. All indicators point to quitting, but I decided I'll give it one more shot, but I'll really try. And 6 weeks later, this was the event that we hosted, and this is in my office again, and I didn't know any of these people. And the interesting thing about this, so this was almost 6 years ago, I still know a lot of these guys. Mostly guys in there, but I know some of these people, and they became my friends. That's what it was all about. And like then the next event, like it was like a fire, like big fire issue. It's like, if we have a fire in here, like everyone's gonna die. So we hijacked this office like down below us that wasn't ours, that was just open. We just like found a way in. It's totally illegal, and we like rented chairs, and we like closed the windows so like the hope the landlord no one would see. And then we set up these chairs, and that was this. And more people came. And then like I cold emailed Jason Calacanis and was like, hey, can you come speak at our event? And he's like, I can't speak, I don't have time. This is how he talks. If you listen to his podcast, he's like, I don't have time, but I'll just show up and then I'm gonna leave as soon as it's over. I'm just gonna walk in and then I'm gonna walk out. Whatever you want, Jason. It's all good, man. Like, we'll do that. That's what we had planned anyways, so that's perfect. It's not, but that's what we'll do. So we did this talk, and everybody liked it. Was shocked. So we just started doing that again and again and again, and then we then like realized we needed to get legitimate, because if the guy found out we were stealing this room, like not only we're gonna get kicked out of the room, but like I'm not gonna have a place to work because he's gonna kick me out of my other office too. So we started doing this thing at AOL and getting the space. And then like this one time, where's my time? How much time do I have? Brock, what? Well, can I get a time? What do I got? 10 minutes or 10 minutes? Okay, I'll be done in 10 minutes, don't worry. Just don't leave, it really hurts my self-esteem, guy in the jacket over there. So like, we do this, I see this guy one time, it's like an event like this, we got a lot of people, and he walks in, and it was definitely a guy. That's a woman would not do this. He walks in and walks over to the pizza and stacks like 10 pieces of Pizza High, and then he walks out. And I'm like, and I had this epiphany. And I was like, this isn't a startup community. This is like a startup homeless shelter. Because no one would ever want to eat the pizza that we bought. Like, no one would ever come there for actually to enjoy the food because it was so horrible, because it was just the cheapest stuff we could get. It's Domino's, it's terrible. And so the guy in my mind, he looks like this. He doesn't look like this, but that's what it looks like. So anyway, so from that moment, I just decided we're gonna start charging people. And if nobody wants to come back, then that's fine. It'll just be me and, my sister or my brother or something that can come, one of my cousins. But at least, like, you're not gonna come just for the food. Like, you're gonna come and you're gonna be committed. And the most interesting thing happened, and this changed our trajectory, which was 60% of the people came back, but they paid. And it was the highest quality 60%. It was this immediate eliminator of startup losers. People that aren't doing anything except for just showing up and eating crappy pizza. Like, we don't want those people. We want people that are builders. We want people that are helping. We want people that are contributing to the ecosystem, and that's who we got. I also had this guy come up to me at one of those events at that time, and he said, he's this surfer guy from LA, like total stereotype. Dude, I love Startup Grind. It's so gnarly. I love it, dude. He's like, I need to do this in LA. And I'm like, you are the most like you're the worst representative of our brand that we could ever have in LA or any other city. It's like you pick one of the biggest cities in like America, and you're like, you want to run that? Are you crazy? But it was like we had nothing to lose. We had no brand. We had nothing. So like, what is going to happen? We might get sued or something. I don't know. Like, it's not so bad. We have nothing to take. So sue us. You take whatever we got. We got nothing. So I've never been sued ever in my life, by the way. But so we did it, and it worked. It was shocked. No one's more surprised than me. It worked in LA. They actually did need it in LA. This is us in our garage. We moved into my garage. And we were there for a long time. This is our mission. There's 400 million entrepreneurs in the world. So are there enough entrepreneurs to educate? How are we doing? We're just helping a few of them right now. We're just getting started. I always hate when people say that. We're just getting started. We have so far to go. And like, you've been like, come on. But honestly, like, the longer you go and the more you understand the space, like I'm not an expert in anything, except for like this tiny like startup space. Because I'm just like, I think about it more than anybody in the world. Like, just by default, I've been working on it longer than anybody and like trying to understand it. So I, by default, am an expert in that space. I don't know anything else about anything else. But like this space I understand, and now I understand that there's actually a huge problem here and there's a huge need. But I didn't understand that for years. We're really proud of this. This is just a couple of things we do. In May, we have 100 female entrepreneurs speaking in 100 different cities in 30 days. Nobody else in the world can do this. We had this chapter in Babel pop up. Who knows where Babel is? What country? Nobody? Iran. So like, we see these pictures coming on Instagram, like, whoa, look at this event in Babel. This is amazing. I mean, no one's smiling, but other than that, it looks really good. And so I'm like, to my guy, I'm like, hey, look at what's happening in Babel. And I'm like, by the way, when did we start hosting events in Babel? He's like, we never have approved a chapter in Babel. I'm like, okay, well, we should talk to him before he uses our brand again. It's in Iran. Yeah. We have a number of chapters there, but that was a new one. We have great, amazing people like Ozan was in Istanbul, and chapter directors all over the world. Michael Cayley is a good example of this, who's hosted 50 events for us in Toronto. This is what what do I got, 5 minutes? Are you keeping time? 4? This is what I tell entrepreneurs. So the first thing is that venture capital's dropped, right? Like, this is the data. This number here below, so I talked to one of the top 3 venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, and I said, what's changed? And he said, well, 2 years ago, we did 12 investments in the first half of the year. Last year, we did 8. This year, we've done 1. So that means something to me. Dave McClure told me last week when I quoted this, I'm an effing idiot, but like, everyone's kind of like clinching, you know? And I liked the advice that one of the people that was on this panel that said, if you get revenue, everything else solves itself. And that's really simple advice, but it's true. Steve Case just wrote a book where he talks about the next wave of entrepreneurship, and he says that perseverance, whatever, we all know that. But the interesting thing that he says is, one is policy, that you need to work within the right channels. You can kind of skirt through in the beginning, but you see Uber, you see self-driving cars, you see AI, everybody's talking about. These things are going to be regulated, and entrepreneurs need to be thinking about that and navigating that from the beginning. And you should be doing partnerships to help grow. So whether that's working with a Google, working with a Coke, working with an Oracle, with an IBM. This question of like, who would buy you? It's on the YC application. What companies would buy you? It's a great thing to be thinking about, not because you want to get sold, but because you need to start cultivating these relationships with these people that are going to buy you, because these take time for them to get comfortable with you. And the great companies, they start building these relationships, not like that are natural fits, and then eventually they say, hey, we're sick of paying you $1 million a year for your product. why don't we just buy you and then we can reap the rewards of that? And you're like, oh, okay. And it's a really easy process because they've already been working with you for 2 years, right? So figure out who could buy you and just start becoming friends with them and building relationships with them. If you're building a startup, you are a dead body on an operating table. It's dead. If you can, and your job is to find a way to get it alive. But you probably won't. It's most likely going to remain dead. It's dead. It's really hard to bring something back to life that's dead. And when it comes back to life, a lot of times it's got a lot of problems, like it's brain dead or other things. It can be really messed up. And you got to fix that stuff. So you got to build a great team. And you got to get it out of ICU. I'm not trying to make light of these things. I was literally just in ICU, coming in here to visit a child of somebody that I know that's in there. I'm not trying to make light of that, but you got to get out of ICU, and then you got to get out of the bed and get on the walker, and then the cane, and then you start to walk without a cane, and then you start to run, and you start to sort of figure it out. Great ideas have unnatural momentum. If you have to push the ball up the hill for a long time, but at some point it needs to roll on its own. And then you start chasing it and pushing it. I've not worked any of the 12 other things I failed at. I've not. I always work hard. That's one of the few things I'm good at, is working hard. Suck at most other things. But I haven't worked any harder on this. It's just, people wanted it. They didn't want the other crap that I built. So it's had an unnatural momentum. And great companies and products have that. What do I got? 1 minute? Startups are like the most selfish job you can have. It's all about me. Me, 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 me. Always think about my problems. I just lost another guy. It's always about my problems. He's like, whatever, it's not. It's always about somebody else. It's not about me. As he gets, so you need to get out of that, and you need to think about someone else, okay? I find that the best way to solve my own problems is to help somebody solve their problems. It's this amazing concept that if you help someone first, your life will be better. There's this book by Clay Christensen, and he gives 3 advice called How to Measure Your Life. Everybody should read it. And he says 3 things. He says the 3 things you want to focus on. He went to Harvard, and when he came back to Harvard at the 20-year reunion, one of the people that he graduated with, he knew, was Jeff Skilling, who was the founder at Enron, one of the greatest frauds ever. Am I out of time? So he was and then there are other people whose wives hated them and kids hated them and didn't want to see them. And these are Harvard people. These are supposed to be real smart people. I mean, not everybody that I know went to Harvard is a real smart person, but most of them seem to be pretty intelligent. And so he says you just focus on 3 things. You focus on not going to jail, not having your kids hate you, and not having your wife hate you. And if you can just solve those things, everything else will be fine. And I find that to be great advice. And I also find it to be very, very hard. Not going to jail. If you're an ethical person and moral person, you probably won't go to jail. But if you don't want your wife to hate you, if you don't want your kids to hate you, you better spend time with them. You better build those relationships as much as you're trying to build some stupid relationship with a VC who's never going to fund you. You better care way more about those people than you care about other things. I mean, I have kids. These are my kids. The other guys are my kids. And my kids, for whatever reason, they don't care if I'm there in the morning. But if I'm not there for dinner, they're pissed. And they don't forget. And I want to be there. That's one of the few things I do. I go, that's my time, I got to end. But I'll end on this note. This is the last good thought to end on. And that is that I work very hard at having dinner with my kids. It's something I try very hard to do every night. And I might take a red eye at 4 in the morning the next morning and do a 9 a.m. presentation the next morning and fly back that same day in order to have dinner with my kids the night before and the next night. And I say this, not that I've solved this or that I'm so great at this. I say this to put myself on record because now I'm going to be a hypocrite if I jack up my kids. But if when your startup fails, and it will surely fail, your startup's screwed. It's done. It's not going to work. Hopefully you haven't screwed up your life too. Because if you have, then when your startup fails, you have nothing. So make sure you build your life and make sure you build the things that are truly important. No one ever dying said their last breath, I wish I'd worked harder. No one's ever said that, ever in the history of mankind. 70 billion people or however many have lived on the earth. No one's ever said they wish they work harder. Don't screw this stuff up, and everything else will just be fine. That's all I got. Thanks for having me. Peace in the Middle East.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you sometime soon with your family in Istanbul, wearing this startup. Awesome. Yeah, Etohum. Thank you. Love you so much. Thank you, sir. Great.